Welcome everybody to I Go Off Patreon channel. Today I am going to get right into exactly what the future holds for this channel, for myself, for my business, and obviously share it with you. Because you are a paid member of my Patreon account, I'm assuming that you found me through YouTube and that is how you landed here. I suspect you already know that I'm a boots on the ground operator of a high performance real estate team based in South Florida. And I suspect that you also know that I used to be a stockbroker. And from the early 90s to the mid 2000s, that is what I did for a living. And my core business during that time frame was finding undervalued companies, undervalued situations, building positions in those companies over time, letting my winners run, cutting the losers off to the 50-day moving average in most instances. In other instances, there were other ways for me to protect my downside or protect my client's downside. But I experienced every single market that happened throughout that damn near 20-year run. And I was trading around the tech bubble crash, the dot-com bubble crash, and every single global economic meltdown that happened. I was actively trading the market when Greece went broke. And I also traded around everything that happened during the great financial crisis when our banking system almost broke. And it should have, but it was bailed out. And so many of the things that I talk about on the YouTube channel are patterns that I've seen before. And what has yet to happen, the system, which is too big to fail, has not failed yet. And while I see politicians putting the economy back together like Humpty Dumpty, I also know that Humpty Dumpty is going to have a great fall. And the only thing I don't know is how long can they continue to put the economic Humpty Dumpty back together again. And to be clear, I'm not an economist, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, I'm not an analyst. There are lots of things that I'm not, but I do have common sense. And I have seen how this movie ends over time for every single country that has acted and behaved the way our country is currently acting and behaving. And as much as I would love to believe that this could go on forever, I know that it can't. And I know for certain at some point, and now I want to be clear, this point could be years, it could be decades away in terms of total systemic failure. But in the interim, I also know that there are too many things that can't be ignored that I must pay attention to. Specifically, the fact that there are lots of folks right now that are experiencing personal financial distress. And as I'm making this content, a listing that I just put on the market today got its first showing request, and I blocked off showings for today completely. But the sellers were a little bit concerned. Did we overprice the home? Is our home going to sell? What are we going to do? And I know I priced it the right way. I know that it's marketed the right way. And I'd be lying if I told you that I wasn't a little bit concerned about when are we going to get our first showing, because the market is always right. And although I think we priced it the right way, and I know I marketed it the right way, until we get our first showing, we got no showings. But the good news is, in less than an hour of having listed this property, we got our first showing, and I suspect there will be many more coming soon. And I suspect that this home will have multiple offers which bid the price higher, and the sellers will be quite happy. And that's great for them. It's great for me. It's great for the buyer. It's a win-win-win for everybody. But I also know that there is a tremendous amount of opportunity that I have been completely ignoring. And to be totally transparent, that has been intentional. I have been investing in myself and in my business and in creating content for everyone to benefit from for years. And I've been deliberately stacking cash in order to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves when the market fails or when personal financial distress creates opportunities to take advantage of. And to be totally transparent, although I am a boots on the ground operator of a high performance real estate team, and I'm really good at what I do, the fact of the matter is, I'm not really in the real estate business at all. I'm in the service business. And I know that I provide a very valuable service, which is light years better than almost anybody in my market. And I'd also venture to guess that's light years better than anybody in almost any other market, too. And while I also know that the market is always good for someone, and I know how to pivot to whom it's best for, so I'm not particularly concerned about whatever happens in the market, and I know how to pivot quickly to service whoever it's best for. So while other agents are out there losing their minds and terrified about what the future looks like, that does not apply to me whatsoever. But really, all of that is to give you some background information because I'm obviously not going to cut down the money tree that grows in my backyard in the form of my current real estate business. But it is to share that I didn't realize that I have the opportunity today to start planting the seeds of my next money tree. And while this platform gives me the ability to not be censored, and by the way, the last video that I did, I have no idea what triggered the algorithm to do whatever it did, but the video that I put out yesterday was shut down. The audio was completely disabled midway through that video. And I don't even think I was talking about anything remotely controversial. But something happened, and maybe it was a glitch, I don't know. But half of that video was completely inaudible. And if you're here on this channel, I know that you know I've been threatened to be deplatformed many times recently, which is why I made the pivot to Twitter and why I made the pivot here. Because I can go off about anything on this channel, and I have no fear of being censored in any way, shape, or form. And you are the market. So I know that if my content sucks or I don't provide value, the market is going to tell me so. And I am committed to providing value. Now, what you may have noticed is that already on the channel is content that I've made in the past while I was discovering how to be a realtor the right way and how to generate business the right way and how to lean into my superpower the right way. And I've shared examples of content that I've made in the past where I've generated business and generated commissions talking to strangers on the phone. And I documented the entire process from start to finish in many of the examples. And if you are a real estate professional, I know that's valuable content. And I've been hired by different brokerages throughout the country to do in-person boot camps and train their agents. And while it was a lot of fun at first, I quickly discovered I don't particularly like being a teacher, but I really enjoy leading by example. And there's nothing that I won't do to help somebody that I see working, that I see grinding. Anytime I've ever seen anybody who's putting in the work and that's struggling at the work, I always lean in to help them. And I've done that my entire life, whether it was playing sports, whether it was being a stockbroker, or whether it's being a real estate professional. I want to help people who want to help themselves, which is a long way of getting to why I'm making this video, but I didn't realize that I am missing an opportunity that currently exists in the market right now. And my plan was to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves when the market crashes. But it was only when I found that there was someone out there that's taking advantage of the distress right now that I have access to. I realized it would be completely irresponsible of me not to document the process and share that journey. And whether you know it or not, you are actually a huge factor in my success because this content and you watching it have become my accountability group. Because if I say I'm going to do something and you're paying to see the something that I'm doing and then I don't do it, well, then I failed. I failed you, I failed me, I've broken my promise, and I suspect I will completely lose this audience, which I have zero intention of doing. So I'm fired up, I am really excited, and although I've already started taking actions that line up with building up this new business and new opportunities, a lot of this stuff takes time. And so please know, although there is some content that's on the channel now, which might not be relevant to you now, there's a ton of content that's in the works that will be relevant to you if you're interested in learning more about how to acquire real estate using creative financing. And I'm the test subject, I'm the guinea pig. I am the proof in the pudding. And talk is cheap, so don't believe it until you see it. But I'm documenting the entire process to demonstrate mastery. And if you look at any of the other content that's on here, which is really geared for real estate professionals, you will see proof in the pudding and demonstration of mastery on how I built my business previous to finding YouTube. Because the truth is, I knew about YouTube and I knew people were having success with YouTube for years before I actually committed to learning how to do YouTube the right way. Because prior to that, almost all of my business was generated by me making cold calls to strangers. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but let me just say this. When I lost my business, and I think it's important to give you a little bit of context, I thought I would be a stockbroker forever. I had done it for 18 or 19 years, and I thought I was set. I had built a big team, I was making money hand over fist, and it was almost as if everything was done on autopilot. And I've already done a video as to how I ended up out of the industry, but in a nutshell, the firm was shut down. And no, we didn't do anything wrong, but the business model was over. The business model was shut down, and I no longer had a job. And thankfully, I was in a position where I was able to get on my feet and start over. But it was completely terrifying, and I had to make moves all over the place to be able to survive. And when I got my real estate license, I had the misconception of thinking it would be easy because I had watched Million Dollar Agent, or whatever the show is actually called. And I saw what those guys did, and I thought to myself, if they can do it, I can do it, and this will be a breeze. I'll just start collecting my $1 million listings and my $1 million paychecks, just like the guys I saw on TV. But that's not the reality of what happened. And I really need to stress this. I was terrified. I completely lost my identity. And I don't mean somebody stole my identity. I just thought that I was always going to be the big shot. I always thought I was going to be the guy with the corner glass office. I thought that I was going to do that forever. And I felt wealthy. But when it unpredictably ended, I could tell you my ego was shattered. And to make matters worse or more terrifying, I had two babies. I had two little girls that I needed to provide for. And I had zero income. So I did what any good stockbroker would do. I went onto Zillow. I found the person who was doing the most sales in my market, and I cold called them. I begged them for a job. And the first person that I called didn't answer the phone. The second person that I called did answer the phone. And when he got on the phone, I begged him for a job. And I told him and meant it. There's nobody on the planet that will work harder for you than me. Please give me a shot. I will not let you down. And frankly, I think I scared him because he was like, Chris, it's okay. You're hired. You got the job. What I didn't know then, but I definitely know now, is that everybody gets the job, which is why there's 90,000 agents in my market and only 1,000 do 10 deals or more a year. And while I was thrilled that I got the job, the truth was I wasn't myself anymore. I had lost my swagger. I was fragile, but I was desperate to learn. I was desperate to provide for my family. And I listened to what they told me. And what they told me was find someone who is successful and follow their model, implement their model. Don't ask questions, just go to work, do the work. And to my surprise, one of the first leads that was sent to me by my new mentor, I closed. And shockingly, and this is unusual, although I didn't know it at the time, the next few did the same, which led me to believe that working in the real estate industry is easy because within a month I had earned $20,000 in commissions. And I thought, I'm back in business, baby. It's all good. But what I quickly found out is the next few months were not going to be good. In fact, there was zero deals put on the table, which meant there was zero food that was going to be put on the table. And although I had some savings and I had done some things to be able to insulate me for a short time, I was quickly running out of money. I was quickly running out of hope. And I was quickly thinking I might need to go get a job somewhere else because I was failing out of the industry. But I took a leap of faith and I found a mentor who was actually doing the work. Someone who could demonstrate mastery to me, someone in the real estate industry who had grown, scaled, and built a business, which he shared the entire blueprint for. And I quickly realized that the things that I had been taught by my current mentor that worked for him absolutely would not work for me because we're not the same people. We're not the same personality types. I did not want a business that was built on servicing low-end properties in 55 plus condo communities. That was not the business that I wanted to build. But with my new mentor and my new blueprint, I figured out pretty quickly what to do next. And I created a Facebook group in which I invited 2 or 3 people that were part of that mastermind, and I made a commitment to them that I would record my dials every day. And let me clarify that I didn't record them. I went live. I did a live stream making these calls for 4 years. And if you've checked out any of my previous content that's on here right now, you've seen some of those highlights. But I was 1000% convinced that the highest and best use of my time was to continue to cold call. I had a cold calling addiction that was highly profitable and all consuming. But I also knew that there were people out there that were having success making content on YouTube, and they had completely changed the trajectory of their business and the quality of their business by light years. And while I really wanted to do that, I couldn't do that because I thought it was a waste of time. It would take away from what I thought was the highest and best use of my time, which was cold calling. But when COVID happened and the quarantine happened and everybody was shut down and the world stopped, I realized that was my opportunity to learn and master how to use YouTube the right way. And because I don't want this to be a 10-hour video, I'm going to skip forward a little bit here because I can talk endlessly about YouTube, and I can talk endlessly about the algorithm, and I can talk endlessly about how to use YouTube the right way, which I will likely do in a separate video. But that was not the initial purpose of this video. I'm just trying to give some background as to where I intend to go. Because I thought I had to wait for the market crash to take advantage of the distress that's in the market. And I learned that that's not true. There are people out there right now who are doing it every day, and they're making a fortune. And while I dropped it quickly in one of the videos that I did recently about when I talked about using creative financing, but I learned that from my new mentor. But I spent several weeks ensuring that this mentor is legit. He actually does the business that he says he does, because there's a ton of frauds out there that say lots of things that don't actually do anything other than sell what they're teaching. They aren't operators. They haven't done it themselves. But Pace Morby did. And so I hired him. And I get to learn from the best of the best in that space using creative financing. But similar to what I did on Facebook in the past, I'm going to do that here. I'm going to document the journey here. I'm going to share the calls here. I'm going to share everything, and I'm sharing it so that you can do it too, if you want to, or you don't have to do anything. But you will 1000% see me do it and know that it's real. And I suspect it will create lots of opportunities for lots of different joint ventures or partnerships or other ways of getting involved too, for anybody that wants to. So just know there is a metric shit ton of new content that's coming soon, which will demonstrate mastery of using creative financing right now in today's market to acquire real estate. And when the system fails and the market crashes, I'll take advantage of that too. But I suspect I will be capitalized much better than I already am. And I'm pretty well capitalized right now. But I've never been more excited about anything. And I'm about to go off. And I hope you enjoy the journey. But I didn't want to leave anybody hanging, so just know more content is coming soon.